So, here we go. We got our auto chess metagame tier list for season 14. We've got 5 tiers, and I'm gonna slowly drag each of the builds on the board, and we can talk about them and discuss, and I'll give you my opinion, and people in chat can debate me and let me know if they disagree or think that we should move up or down or whatever. As far as how I'm going to be rating these builds, I personally value the consistency really high. How the build does in matchups against other builds on this list, and especially against builds that I personally think rank higher than it. I'm also going to take into consideration power spikes of the build, and also when the build is a little bit weaker or has a rough time making it through certain transition. I'm also going to take into consideration how contestable the build is. So if the build only really does well if one person's playing it, versus it can support up to 3 or 4 people playing it reasonably well. And then generally, builds I think are going to fall into 3 or 4 different buckets. So for me, S tier is going to be like a metagame defining build that's kind of the build to beat. A tier will be kind of core metagame builds that aren't necessarily super dominant, but they're pretty prevalent. B tier will be strong builds that I think have some kind of deficiency or an issue that doesn't really let me put them into A tier. And then C and D tier are going to be kind of off meta, where C tier might be a situational build that's still viable, but it's not prevalent enough that you would necessarily say it's in the metagame, or they might have some kind of other significant flaw that leads them to be countered by a majority of metagame builds. And then D tier is kind of just going to be where I'm going to put builds that exist that either I don't feel like we have enough data on, or they just don't really fit into the current framework of the metagame. So I'll go ahead and get started here. So our first build is going to be 6 Beast. So my opinion, I don't feel like there's any S tier builds right now. I actually think the metagame's in a really healthy state. But for now, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna put Beast at the top of A tier, and then we'll adjust and see where we go from there. But I think that 6 Beast is pretty consistent. It sucks when you don't hit a Razor Claw, and I think hitting Monkey in some matchups is pretty important, but that's true of most builds. It's one of the strongest builds in the mid game, and I think there are few things that consistently can beat it in late game when you hit like a Monkey. It's pretty contestable for the most part. Like, it generally can support up to 2 or 3 players playing it at a time, because you don't necessarily need to hit 3-star Razor Claw to be able to compete. Just finding 1 or 2 or an egg can often be enough. And there's a lot of different carries that you can play in the build. Next build is Divinity Cave. I personally think this build is still A tier, and the reason for that, even though it's been nerfed 3 times now, it's still super consistent. It has pretty good matchups into anything, depending on the legendary pool. So sometimes you'll need a specific legendary, or you'll need to hit Grim Doom, but I feel like there are few things that can consistently beat it. And I'm going to put it under 6 Beast, because I think one of the things that does beat it somewhat consistently is 6 Beast with Monkey 2. I think is one of the things that can somewhat consistently give Div Cave some trouble in the late game. So I'm going to put it right under that. It can struggle also in the kind of round 20 to round 25 phase of the game, I think. But with 2 priest and all the extra health you get from 6 cave, I think it does pretty well at staying alive through there. Oh, do you disagree with it being an A tier, Koga? Do you think it should be somewhere else? D, probably? Okay, Percy. Probably B. Why do you think it's probably B? Okay, so the next build I'm gonna put in A tier is 9 mage. I think 9 mage is also really strong. It's got a really stop stalling, Koga, you're stretching. Yeah. Yeah, if you disagree, you need to let me know why. So 9 mage, I think, is also an A tier. It's got a very strong late game. You can play Lancer, which can do pretty well in the Div Cave. Warp 3 is a really good front line, and it's got really, really high burst damage with things like Tort 2 coming in like around 20 or so. It's probably one of the biggest magical damage threats in the metagame right now. So you can force people in the lobby to build Python when they might not necessarily want to, and punish people that can't do so. I think for that alone, 9 mage is pretty good. So I'm going to put it in A tier. I think it struggles against Div Cave, but it can do alright into 6 Beast. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly where I want to put 9 mage within A tier, but I feel pretty good about putting it in A tier. I could see it maybe going ahead of Div Cave or maybe a bit behind it, but I think, yeah, I agree. I think I think Lancer in the late game and 9 mage is pretty good. So I'm gonna put it here for now. Up next we got 6 Knight. Div Cave behind Beast. Alright, home rule, why do you think Div Cave should be ahead of 6 Beast? 6 Knight is very, very strong in the mid game. You can go Avenge 2 and kind of high roll, hitting a bunch of stacks, and then eventually 3-starring it. You also have the opportunity to potentially splash in Human and Human 3 to get books, and then Human 6 on the creep wave. I have 6 Human on here as a separate build, so we'll kind of talk about that more specifically. This is more referring to like when you're building physical carry items and you're going for like 3-star knights. I think knights do pretty well into Div Cave in late game. It can be pretty hard to deal with a stacked Avenge 3 or like a Hell Knight 3 or Lightblade 3 with a splitter. I put it this low though because I think it can struggle against 6 Beast and 9 Mage in particular. So I'm going to put it under 9 Mage for now. Let's see. Homegirl said, Snowball's pretty fast. The legendary is level 9 and 10. 6 Beast, you only need 1 4-cost. 6 Cave needs 2. You can play 4 Cave into Beast also. Alright. I think what I'll do is I'll take a poll at the end and see what people think should be higher. So my next build, I've got 6 Glacial here. I think 6 Glacial also goes into the end of A tier. And the main the main reason why I was considering not putting 6 glacial into A tier was because it's very, very hard to get online. You need to have Lancer in the pool. You can play the 4 wizard version, but I personally haven't seen that have a lot of success. So to play 6 glacial without 4 wizard, you need to hit 5 glacial and 2 wizards. And generally you're going to want another significant carry, so it's either like a 3-star or like a 2-star legendary. So it doesn't come up very often, but when you do get it online, it's definitely one of the strongest late games. And considering that there are quite a few builds that can go into this, like Knights can go into glacial, 6 glacial, 6 beast often will try to go into 6 glacial. Sometimes even like warriors could potentially, if you hit like a rogue 2. 6 glacial is straight up S tier, by the way. Yeah, I was considering putting it into S tier, but I wasn't sure based on how hard it is to get it online. What do you guys think, chat? Should we put Glacier into S tier? You can do it with just 2 Glacier with no Lancer and whatever is best in the game. Tracy said because you either win with it or you don't play it. Yeah, that's a good point actually. Alright, we'll put 6 Glacial into S tier. I'm gonna align this really quickly. Alright, our next build is Cave Demons. So this is specifically playing 5 cave with 2 wizards, so you get 6 cave, and then you're looking to go Witcher 2 with like a Rogue Guard carry or a Phantom Queen or a Doom. I personally think that Cave Demons is really, really good, but it's also a very situational build. Usually it looks very similar to Div Cave, but it matches up very well into all of these builds. I think that... So originally I was thinking I was going to put it in low A tier, but if we're putting Glacier in here because it's something you either go for or you lose with, I think I also have to put Cave Demons into S tier. Because it's a pretty similar idea, and often Cave Demons will then transition into 6 Glacial. Can you also call this Demons? Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by that. Is it's just kind of like a demon build where you're playing like 3, 4, 5 demons with 2 Witcher. Usually you're adding in Cave, but sometimes you're like you'll add in like 4 Glacial early or something like that and just shortcut the Cave, but just to represent that idea basically. So I think we're gonna put that into S tier unless someone disagrees. All right, our next build is the Greater, which is the synergy that they added kind of recently where you're not allowed to play any synergies, but your units gain the proc chance to stun something. So you sit at like level 7 or 8 and you roll for a bunch of 3 stars. I personally feel like this build is like high B or low A. Because to me, I feel like there's a lot of parallels to how 6 Knight plays, but I don't feel like it's nearly as consistent. So I think for now it's at the top of B for me, but I feel like this could move up, especially if something like 9 Mage becomes more popular. I think it's got a very good matchup in a 9 Mage. I'm not as knowledgeable about its matchups into these other things, but I feel like they're, for the most part, they're competitive. But yeah, I'm going to put it in B for now. I think this is one of the more unexplored things on this list so far, so I think it could change. Alright, next we got 9 Hunter. 9 Hunter require, well, you can get it online with wizards, but typically you'll need to hit Tsunami to get it online. So you can only really go for this when Tsunami's in the pool. Given that you have to really, you should really be playing this out of like a really healthy middle or a win streak. And there's a lot of other options in Hunter. I think I'm going to put it next to Greater in the top of B. I think it has some surprisingly good matchups, but you have to hit a lot of stuff. You have to hit like 3-star Sniper or like 3-star Ranger. You really want Splitter. Infused is also pretty important if you're playing. So I think there's a lot of things that you need to hit, but it is really powerful, and if you hit that stuff, I think it can beat most of the builds above it. It's just the chances that you get all of the pieces that you need to make this build work are so unlikely, and that often I feel like there's other better options. It's almost Exodia at 10. Koga said S, Roigi said S. Wait, you said B? B tier for me. Only option I can think of is 9 Hunters plus Granny with Splitter Ice Armor. B with a Dan's game. Yeah, I don't think I'm crazy about 9 Hunter right now, but I've definitely seen them win games, so like I don't think it's bad, but I guess we'll talk about 6 Agursis. So 6 Agursis, you're often playing from similar starts as 9 Hunter. I think this is similar to 9 Hunter. I might put this over 9 Hunter actually, but I feel like you really want to see Devastator in the pool. And I also think that well, Monkey is also really good with the stun. Way more situational. And you don't drop Hunters. Once you venture into the land of 9 Hunter more, you'll be enlightened. Yeah, I was debating putting this higher. I haven't played this a whole lot since they've buffed it. But in my mind, I see this as very similar to 9 Hunter in that you often want to play it from a win streak and from like a very healthy middle. But I kind of feel like I think I agree. I think this should maybe go in A-, like at the bottom of A. You're so strong on 9 with 4K. If you're gonna lose nothing, you can just go 10. Yeah, I think I'll bump up 6 Agursis to A-. Agursis can stall into top 3. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's definitely good for like if someone's crushing the lobby and you're playing for 2nd or 3rd, I would definitely much rather be playing 6 Agursis than 9 Hunter. That's a good point. Alright, up next we got Div Shaman. I haven't played this build in a while. So I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on Div Shaman in the current meta. I've been seeing some other people play it a little bit, especially in the last week or two. I haven't played it in probably close to a season though myself. So generally you're gonna play like 4 Div, 4 Shaman. You want to try to play the most expensive Shaman units that you can get. So if Scryer's in the pool, then that's great. Usually you're gonna play something like Water Spirit or Thunder Spirit, and then eventually switch into like a 2-star legendary carry. The heck is Div Shaman? It's foreign to me now. Shaman is S. Yeah, Koga really likes his Shaman. I know Koga is gonna tell me that this should be in like S plus, but yeah, I'm thinking B tier. I think it's interesting that it's in the meta because it definitely feels like it has some pretty polarizing matchups. Like it kind of just destroys 9 mage. Div Shaman's outclassed by most variants, low B. 6 cave is better than Shaman, so yeah, it's definitely not the prevalent div build right now, but I think it's still playable, and I think it still has some merit, and there's some situations where you might want to run it. I don't think I've encountered that myself, but yeah, alright, so we'll put it here for now. We might move it later. Alright, so we got Goblin mech, so like specifically playing goblins, going for 6 mech. I think this is a pretty fun like high roll build, and it actually has the opportunity to transition into these 2 S tier builds that we've listed, where you could like hit a lancer or a rogue guard. I'm kind of looking at, I forgot to mention this at the start, but I'm kind of looking at this more of like from like a ranked perspective, and I feel like in ranked I put this as like a low B, and that like you can definitely win games with this, but what's on the base? Oh. Yeah, so I'm gonna put 6 mech at the bottom of B. I'd probably put Gobs in A. Why would you put Gobs in A? I could bump Div Shaman down, but like I feel like I see 9 Hunter win more games than Goblins does. Because Goblins, like, you just lose to Grim Doom, and low A, high B sounds right. Okay. I could see switching it with Div Shaman. I'm struggling to put it higher than this though. Like up 900? You think it's okay? I don't know about higher than this though. Like this list, except I'd put Shaman in A just because I win with it and lose to it. It's not better than Greater. Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, Greater's in a weird spot where, like, I think it has the potential to be in A. Like, if I had, like, a A.5 or a B+, like, Greater would probably be in there by itself. Alright, yeah, this seems fine. What's next? Here we go. We got 6 human. 6 human, I think, is pretty similar idea to Goblin mech, where you gotta hit pretty hard, but you get the benefit of going to level 11 and potentially level 12. I personally don't play a lot of 6 human, but I know that Legato has a lot of success with this, and other people definitely do too. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where you guys think this should go. For me, personally, I feel like this should probably be placed pretty similar to Goblin mech. Because I feel like in ranked, it's kind of a similar idea of just wanting to like snowball off of a high roll. B tier? Yeah, I'm thinking somewhere in B. Bottom of B. Okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. Borderline C. Yeah, I haven't seen as much 6 human have success recently, but I'm not sure if that's just because the people that I know that are really good at 6 human haven't been as active recently. Alright, so we got Insect Kira. So this is specifically playing 4 insects with Veno and an Ogre, and usually also a Doom or duplicates of Doom. Sometimes some legendaries. It's very strong, but it can be difficult to get online sometimes. Where do you guys think that insect should go? I haven't personally played a whole lot of insect recently. Just behind knights, maybe? Yeah. Insects A. Insects can't be lower than A. Below A. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is that... So usually... You either see 6 beasts transition into insects, or hunters transition into insects. And it's not necessarily a worse transition if it's lower, but I do think it is a different matchup spread than 6 beasts, for example. It loses to almost all hyper carries. Eight is a bad, sad game. What about like right here? So behind knights, but before 6 aggressives. Oh, whoops. There we go. So next we got Divinity Warlock. So this is usually 4 div and then 6 Warlock if there's Dark Spirit in the pool. Sometimes 4 Warlock. You can play Swordman carry. Used to be Lava Shaman carry was a big thing. Very rarely people will play this with like Water Spirit still. But usually you also kind of have Grim Doctor combos as like an alternative win condition for this build. So you can definitely win some rounds unexpectedly. Compared to the other A tiers, I think it beats them out, but doesn't place as consistently versus the S tier. Okay. Yeah. I could see maybe putting Insect over Knights. I guess I'll put that down as like another thing to talk about later. So where do you guys think that Div Warlock should go? I'm thinking the top of C tier. Because I think that it has some merits. But top C maybe because in a mage lobby this build is basically torture to people. Yeah. I think it has some very, very polarizing matchups. So it's useful, but I don't think it's a go-to build that like you can just pull out in any game that you want to run it in. If you're thinking about this in like the highest possible skill terms, yeah, well, I mean, I guess think of it as like yourself playing a ranked game, like how would you rank builds, right? It's lobby dependent, general performance, not max potential. Yeah, exactly. Like you never go into a ranked game right now and you're like, I'm going Div Warlock, but like maybe you like high roll a Dark Spirit or whatever. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I've done some like very late game transitions into Div Warlock from like Div Cave actually, where like I'll play Div Cave and I'll hit like a Dark Spirit too. And it's worked pretty well, but it's a very specific build for like a very specific purpose. So up next we got Feathered Assassins. Personal favorite build of mine and Percy's, but I personally don't feel like it's great in the current metagame. For me, I feel like I could put this anywhere from like the very bottom of A to like maybe right above Div Shaman. What do you guys think? So like usually you've got 6 feathered, 3 assassin, you build up your 3-star druids. You're looking for either Abyssal Crawler 3 or Shadow Crawler 3, and you're building melee carry items. You'll sit and roll at like level 7 or 8. Until you hit those. You have pretty good access to Marine, which is nice in 9 mage lobbies. Loses the Hunter and destroys Greater and Goblins in mid game. So what you're saying is like right here. I could see putting it right there, yeah. Alright, let me scoot over this stuff really quick. Okay, up next we got 9 Warrior. 9 Warrior, you play Warriors, and then you play more Warriors. And that's the plan. Usually, I personally wouldn't even consider this unless Rogue is in the pool. You can transition to Glacier from this build if Lancer's in the pool. I'm feeling like a high C. But I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna put this over Div Warlock. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Was it A for a while, but B, it's so situational, has good meta matchups. Yeah, my problem with Warrior, though, is that I really don't want to play it unless I'm literally 100 streaking into, like, round 15 plus. Gets wrecked by 9 mage in the lobby. Yeah, it has some really bad matchups. Like, 9 mage in particular can be really rough. You really have to have, like, Doom and a Python or, like, a Mega Cloak. You really have to tech specifically to be able to deal with 9 mage to have a chance. Alright, so up next we got 9 feathered. So this was the one that, as I was making this list, I was the most surprised because I think 9 feathered is a lot lower than I thought it was. It has a lot of really bad matchups on this list. It loses to Glacier. It can lose to... It loses pretty bad to 9 mage. It can lose to Knights once they get... Like, it loses to MKC. So you're kind of on a timer. You kind of have to transition to another build if you're going to be playing this after, like, round 35, 36 or so. So I'm kind of thinking that this also goes into C. Like, yeah, like, if you have a Rogue Guard or you have Glacial, like, you don't even need MKC sometimes. Like, sometimes you're just hitting hard enough or fast enough that it just doesn't matter. I don't feel like it does that well in a Greater. The couple of times I've played Greater, I've just destroyed 9 feathered. So I think, for me, 9 feathered is dropped all the way down to C. Alright, so up next we got Civet mages. So this is when you play multiple Thunder Spirits, multiple Torts with a Civet. I've seen a couple of Japanese players play this and have some success with it. It looks really fun. Meme build our first D tier. Yeah. Yeah, this is going into D tier. It looks really fun though. So I might play this sometime, but yeah, I'm not sure that it's the most relevant build in the metagame. I'm pretty sure you would just be better off playing 9 mage if you're hitting those pieces. Alright, up next we got 5 dragon. So 5 dragon, usually including some amount of div and some amount of mages. Often this is something you can play out of, well, it used to be one of the things that people would play out of 6 human pretty often, but I've seen people try to play this a little bit at level 10. Where do you guys think 5 dragon should go? I feel like for me it's like probably at the bottom of like C, because it's still sometimes good. Mid A behind 9 mage. Oh, you think it's that good? Okay. When Milan played 5 dragons versus us. Oh, yeah. It's really good. I feel like B or low A. Okay. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a similar idea to, like, insects, right? It's good when your skill transcends the lobby. Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely a good build for, like, skill checking a lobby, which is useful in ranked. So, yeah, this is a build that I have a hard time fitting into the scale because it's such a late game thing only. And you don't really go 5 dragon unless it's going to be better for you, right? So, yeah, I'll fit it in here. I think between insect and agursis. All right, I'll try my best to fit it in. All right, A tier is full, so if we're gonna add something into A tier, we gotta move something out of A tier. That's our new rule. Say, I didn't expect we would be cramming so many things in here. All right. Can't see the highest tier with horn. All right. So we got 9 assassin. I don't really play this build, but I know that some people in MSG really like this build a lot. This could be natural 9 assassin or 4 wizard assassin. I don't know. Probably the wizard build is better, I'm guessing. You could like cheat out 9 assassin really early. I'm feeling like a low C or a high D on this one. Feeling a C, bottom of C. All right. Luigi says SS. All right. All right. Up next, we got Shaman Mage. So if you guys remember when Shamans were really good, people used to play 4 Shaman, 3 Mage to counter Div Shaman. I've seen this build a couple of times this season, but I don't think it's been super popular. You mean the Ramza? Oh, did Ramza popularize this build? I didn't know that if that was the case, but I feel like for me, this also goes into C. I think I would put this over 9 Sin, personally. But I think generally you would want to play 9 Mage or Div Shaman over this. Luigi says straight B in this meta. Top of D. Okay. It's only good with pandas. Alright, so up next we got Div Mage Warlock, or the anti-mage build. I think this build has struggled a lot since they changed how since they changed Flame Wizard from 3 cost to a 2 cost. I haven't really played this build with any real success since then. So I think this also goes into D. Homeworld says C tier. Percy says B after Feathered. Interesting. So why do you think it's B tier? I think it's perma lowest B every meta. I could see maybe an argument to put this into like C tier, like here or here. It's the same thing with 5 dragons skill checking the lobby. Yeah, that's a good point. I could see putting it like top of C. But I feel like it's super situational though. And it definitely has some bad matchups that it like just can't win. Alright. So that was the last build I had prepared for this. Homegirl mentioned that we forgot Div Knights. So I guess we can just add that one in for fun. Where do you guys think that Div Knights should go on here? Usually like TPing an Argali. Night Glacier Warlock needs to be in there, right? No one really, I mean, I'm kind of just calling that 6 Knight Opsra. Since that's kind of the more prevalent way to play it right now. But I would say that kind of falls into the same kind of category. Homegirl says D tier, Percy says bottom of C, top of D. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking bottom of C for Div Knights. So we mentioned earlier, it seemed like there was a lot of debate between whether or not 6 Beast or Div Cave should be higher. You forgot 3 Priest, 6 Hunter. Yeah, don't tell Nova. He won't be too happy with me. So let me know. I guess we'll take a quick vote and see. Let me know if you think that Div Cave should be over 6 Beasts, because we mentioned that earlier. Cave just because it's easier to hit, more consistent. When you think of Div Knights, think of taboos in the corner and Doom lobbies. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm putting it in like the bottom of C, because it's definitely got some really bad matchups. Plus ceiling. I still don't think you guys give enough credit to Feathered Sins and Greater. Glacier Mage D-rate. Alright, the other thing we mentioned was Knights versus Insects. So do you think that we should switch these two? Do you think we should put Insects over Knights? So I feel like Insects beats Knights once they're online with relatively equivalent items, but I feel like Knights are just way more consistent than Insects. Raw 9 mages, 2 glacier with lancer level 11. Alright, Coca. Knights over insects. Okay, alright. Yeah, that's the difficulty, right? Is it feels weird because they lose to it, but yeah, I think I agree. Alright, cool. So here's our tier list. I'll probably upload this video to YouTube tomorrow. So thanks everyone for helping out. If you're watching the video, let me know if you agree or disagree with what we picked and where we put it. And yeah, thanks.